Welcome to another episode of the Tech Canvas, where we dive deep into the fascinating world of technology and innovation. I'm your host, and today we're unraveling some exciting concepts around rendering engines, gaming graphics, and a bit of a lyrical twist from Michael Bublé. So, grab your headphones and let's get started. You know, Michael Bublé has that great line about waiting and luck. I might have to wait. I'll never give up. I guess it's half timing, and the other half is luck. That kind of resonates with developers, especially those diving into the world of graphics programming and rendering engines. Today we're exploring something called VSC. That's short for Vuga Schreiner Canth Verified. It's a real-time 3D rendering engine, and there's so much to unpack here. It's an ambitious project because it's built entirely using software, aiming to be extremely portable. Now, if that sounds a bit techy, let me break it down. The folks behind VSC have taken inspiration from classic games like Doom, which really set the stage for 3D gaming as we know it. Imagine separating the brain of the rendering process, what we call the back end, from its appearance, the front end. This clever approach allows bits of the engine to be more flexible, adaptable, and frankly, a bit more powerful in handling 3D graphics. It uses what are referred to as rasterization techniques, which essentially means it's looking to mimic the way light interacts with objects in the real world, even the textures and materials on those objects. So, to those who might be thinking, what about ray tracing? Well, there's a sequel in the works, humorously titled Final Destination, where that aspect is expected to shine. It's like a movie that leaves you on the edge until the next installment comes out. Now, let me touch on a really interesting aspect of this project. It's built on the teachings from Mathematics for 3D Game Programming and Computer Graphics by Eric Lengyel, often lovingly referred to as the skeleton book, because, well, it has a skeleton on the cover. Isn't that a fun little tidbit? It's fascinating how foundational texts can influence a project, right? One of the coolest acknowledgments in the documentation of the VSC engine lets us know about the influence of notable figures in the graphics field. For instance, they give a shout-out to Etienne Vuga, a graphics professor at UT Austin, and Dave Schreiner, the author of the official OpenGL guide, both titans in the industry. And speaking of iconic, there's also a mention of a community-made level in the game Geometry Dash, dubbed VSC Verified. It uses, get this, Michael Bublé's Haven't Met You Yet as its background music. This level was intended as a joke, but turns out it's incredibly challenging, requiring players to execute perfectly timed inputs synchronized to the rhythm of the song. Isn't that just delightful? So if listeners out there are wondering, how can I get involved? There's a simple path laid out. The documentation encourages you to follow along with the skeleton book and take some linear algebra detours. By Chapter 5, you really start to get into the nitty-gritty of rendering, starting with simple shapes and moving on to textures and the more complex visual elements. For those curious about hands-on experiences, there are examples included in the project folder, offering starter codes and setup for running VSC. And if anyone's got questions or faces challenges, the creators encourage the community to reach out via Discord or even through pull requests on their GitHub. It's all about collaboration in this tech world. As we wrap up today's episode, let's reflect on a few takeaways. The blending of art and science in game development, the importance of foundational knowledge, and the joy of community-driven projects that push boundaries and elevate the gaming experience.